I'm live. I'm live, and it's time to do some writing, I suppose. Um, yeah. Welcome all 0 viewers. It is Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. I am EnviroBoy, and today we're gonna do some more writing. Ah, there's a fruit fly. Where'd it go? I don't want to eat it or something. Huh. Okay. I think it's gone. Welcome. Welcome to my stream. We're gonna be doing some writing here. Oops, hold on. I gotta arrange my desk for a second here. Had some stuff going on for work, and I need it out the way because work hours is done. So now it's writing hours. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do some writing. Heck yeah. So yeah, I don't know why I keep dragging out the intro. Probably because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm saying. Um, Excuse me, I'm burping, drinking a Mountain D, and it makes me belchy. um, yeah, I don't know what I'm sitting here trying to act like. Oh, there was one thing I was gonna do. Hold up, hold up. I talked last time about thinking like I was gonna try and get some music going when we're doing these, and I guess I looked into it, and you can have this pretzel thing. It's a cool name, but of course I would say that because pretzels are like my favorite munchie snack. Um, but yeah, so I got this, and we're gonna try doing this with some music here. I'm just gonna go to stations and see if we can find like, let's see here, ambient. I don't know, blues, chill, relax and unwind and chill. That's not bad. Chill EDM. I don't know what that would sound like. Chill bass, chill piano, chill pop. Some interesting things here. I'm trying to think about uh, what would be some cool stuff to have in the background. Holiday? No, we're not. No, that's not the time anymore. Industrial, spooky, goth, and all things industrial. That's not bad. That would be kind of a fun, ironic one to choose as EnviroBoy, right? Industrial, because like I go on a regulate industry or something. Bad polka polka. Lo-fi. I wouldn't mind some lo-fi. Got some punk, R&B, reggae, ska. Got the ska. The what is it? Who is it? It's Bruce Green. Yeah, the Bruce Green special. Ska everything checker racing flag. That'd be cool. Trance. Lasers and more trance, not bad. Traditional. The elevator, yeah, we could get some serious music going with the elevator there. Yacht rock, that sounds uppy. I don't know. I'm either feeling the lo-fi. I don't know. What's okay? Okay, let's just goof around with the industrial. What's that gonna sound like? This is like. I feel like this is. Okay, first off, I feel like I need to do some mixing and get the sound down just a little bit here. Just so it's not too loud for you guys. I don't want it to over. I'm just guessing. I don't know. Hold on. I can't tell at all what it's like because I can't hear over my own voice. Hold up. Can I just? What if I do this? No, that doesn't help. I'm just gonna assume that this is okay. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's right. Well, because it doesn't change the volume in my headset at all. If I do that. Okay. That seems to be doing something. Okay, I'm going to stop listening because I think it's just freaking me out. I don't know. I'm not feeling the industrial. I'm not feeling the industrial, honestly. This isn't... It's not really what I was hoping for today. So, hmm. What's chill gonna do for us? Um, no, I'm not feeling it. What's this? Chill base. I feel like that's got more energy than what I'm looking for here. I think that's I don't know. This feels a little too like this feels like it belongs on those like weird DIY things where it's like DIY how to make your underwear out of concrete or something stupid like that. Um, is chill EDM even going to be substantially different than chill bass? There's something to it, but hmm. Okay, we'll go back to chill EDM. If the only other one that I'm thinking though is like lo-fi, you can't really go wrong with lo-fi, you know. It's lo-fi is a solid ambiance. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm feeling. I gotta say, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling the chill going on there. I think that's what I want to go with. You know. Yeah. All right, we'll stick with that. We'll stick with that. Okay, so we're supposed to be writing. Supposed to be writing. That's screwing around with music. um. So last time, what did we leave off with last time? I don't even remember what the hell I was doing last time. Right, we were talking about merfolk, and I was thinking about setting them up as like a race that has a bit more detail rather than just being some straight up baddies. Is sort of what I was thinking, and that's because we were working on. Yeah, we were working on the Pirate Cove because we have our island. Let me pull up a map. Let's pull this bad boy up eventually because it's in Photoshop. I should really find a better system than just like keeping it in Photoshop. Like I don't know. It's just so massive. But the thing is I don't like gunking my system up with all kinds of different copies of the of like PDFs and stuff or JPEGs because I just edit it all. So we just gotta just be patient with it. So here we go. Okay, so here's our map. Here's our world. Um, everyone will call. Hey, give me my zoom tool. What are you doing, Photoshop? And we go into here. My hand tool. Come over here. So we have. So I've said it kind of before, and we'll just go ahead and give the quick, the sort of quick and dirty rundown of it. My players, at least in this game. So I've got the two games going. One set of players are whoops, where am I going? One set of players are over here in Pergonian area. Um, so hey, Dr. Smile, how's it going, man? Glad to see you here. That's glad you're checking out the writing stream. I'll give you the rundown of sort of what I'm working on here. So like I'm working on my D&D homebrew world here. Um, just kind of trying to see if there's any interest in people, yeah, you know, in me in sort of streaming my writing process, so people can kind of come in and can be almost more of a collaborative process. But we got my world here, Zaoria as I call it, and I'm working on building stuff for the group that I'm presently playing with. Um, and so we've got, well, there's two groups. There's two groups that I'm playing with. One of them meets much less frequently. It's my group that I played with in grad school, and we kind of try to keep in touch by playing. We try to play once every month or so. It's kind of these days once every 2 months because everyone's super busy off doing their own thing. But that one group is down here in this region of the map, in Pregonian. Um, so, oh yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. Hey, anytime you're here is cool. I'm just glad that you dig it well enough to stop in and see what's up, man. But I feel you, man. That time zone difference that'll smash you, man. Trying to stay up for that. I appreciate you willing to stay up even a couple minutes for me. Um, but yeah, so we've got the one air group that's going on over there, and then the other group is over here, and this is the group that I'm really spending more time working on because this group meets much more often. So this little part of the map that we got going up here, so the city of Behemoth here is kind of the biggest city that they're in these days, and it's got a very like ancient Egyptian feel to it. They have recently traveled over to this small town over here. Well, it's a wasteland town these days, Basayet as it's called. They're over here exploring a tomb, trying to find some information about some long dead rich dudes, and they're gonna find a clue. Well, they kind of just found a clue, and that's gonna lead them back over to this island over here, and that's kind of what we're working on filling out is this island. I can pull up the map. So actually, I don't even have to pull up the map for this island because we've got it, if I'm remembering. Yes, we've got the island right over here. So it's kind of small on the screen here. I suppose I could try and just zoom it in a little bit here, um, just for the sake of looking at it. So this is the island that we're working on. And generally speaking, when I'm writing stuff, I try to have within a region, a good 4 or 5 dungeons for people to explore that all kind of play off each other. And so this is going to have a very like Jurassic Park-esque feel, at least in environment. Not so much in monsters. There's not really any dinosaurs going on here, but it's got kind of that tropical island atmosphere to it. And the big dungeon of it is the old manor over here, which is basically an old rich guy's place that during a sort of catastrophic event that sort of shaped my world as it is, called the Unhinging, the guy that was living on there sort of got corrupted by a bunch of dark magic and kind of became an evil cyclops, and he kind of cast a curse on all of his servants that lived with him at the old manor, so that they're immortal, and he basically spends his time just like hunting them down and tormenting them throughout the island. So I'm going to throw my players sort of into the middle of that. Um, uh, oh yeah, man, I hear you playing. I hear you. The struggles of playing COVID. That's like the beauty of online play. And that's how me and a lot of my friends have been taking advantage of like Roll20 and stuff to play online. But like I feel you, man. It's super tough to like start a new group or something like that in Roll20 because you don't know the people, right? Like I don't know if you're like me, but like I don't like screwing around with a group of people that I don't know because like people will think about D&D as in like, oh, I'll start playing D&D with a group and become friends with them, but I find it so much easier to try and do it the opposite way. Get a group of friends and start playing D&D with them. Um, excuse me, and I just like directed the burp right into the microphone, so that didn't help at all. That was just absolutely wretched of me. But yeah, this is the island that I'm working on. We just finished up writing up our shipwreck beach um, uh, map here, and so this is kind of the map of the quote unquote dungeon. This is kind of a creative one where it's got like just a bunch of chunks of broken up ships for the players to explore, and inside of it is all kinds of sort of like coastal creatures. You got giant crabses and stuff just scuttling around. There's like a bunch of. So I kind of reflavored some zombies so that they are functionally zombies, but they are sort of flavored to look like the guys from what is it, the second Pirates of the Caribbean one, the Dead Man's Chest one, where it's all like Davy Jones and his weird octopus barnacle people. So like it's got zombies and stuff like that to take for them to look through. So we just did that, and the lead in sort of what we're now working on is the Pirate Cove, which is going to be over here. And so, sort of the history of it and what we're working on is the history of this Pirate Cove is back before the unhinging. This was often used as sort of like a little smuggling safe house by a lot of pirates. So it's like a cove that opens up into a very Goonies style cave where there's like space in there for ships to be, and it kind of leads into an underground cave system that eventually leads into the abandoned mine here. So they're going to kind of almost merge into a single dungeon, but like for the sake of conceptuality, they're going to be sort of kept a little separate there. But we're working on the Pirate Cove, and the lead in where what I'm going to try to do to direct my character or my players is they come on here onto the shipwreck beach here, because what's going to happen is the currents are all off, and their ship is essentially going to force them to have to land on here and go through that. And what's going to happen is they're going to encounter some of those servants I mentioned beforehand that are stuck, by the curse of this evil Cyclops guy, and they're going to take the players to sort of their hidden camp around here, and they're going to mention having seen some stuff happening over at the Pirate Cove, and that's important because they're going to have the lead from the tomb that there's allegedly some treasure hidden somewhere around here, and that treasure is probably going to end up in the abandoned mine once I finalize on it. But the other thing is one of the characters has a backstory of having been shanghaied by a crewmate who led a mutiny on the ship that he was working on, and he's going to hear a rumor that mutineer is now in charge of the ship and has been hiding out in that Pirate Cove. So there's going to be a whole lot of tie-ins and stuff. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's awesome, man. I really appreciate that. That's really kind of you, man. I was checking out your stream the other day. I don't know if you noticed me pop in, or no, I wasn't. It wasn't a stream. You weren't streaming at the time. I was watching one of your videos, and I was having fun watching you. What were you playing? Ah, crap. It was before this past weekend. This past weekend was insane, so I can't remember anything. But anyway, no, I appreciate that, man. That's really kind of you. I'm very appreciative. But yeah, so I tie in a whole lot of things to try and get like multiple. I like to have multiple fronts to encourage my players to sort of encounter the stuff I make for them. And the reason I do that is so that way if they miss anything, I don't have to railroad them into finding the stuff that I built for them. Because one thing that I really hate is, as a DM, is trying to force players into a linear story. Especially because I've created this big, huge, complex world. I want them to feel free to explore it. But the flip side of it is I'm still sort of in charge of giving them a narrative to follow along with. So it's kind of a tough line to tread, but I find that the best way to do it is to just sort of saturate an area with hooks. So that way they have a couple things that will lead them into it, and they're less likely to miss out on stuff. Because the other thing about it too is if you have players and if you guide them properly, they'll have the backstory like the one player I was talking about, and they'll sort of tell the story on their own, and so it kind of turns into a system where I can just sort of be, the computer that like responds to their inputs without having to actually force them to do anything. So that's why it seems so complicated. That's very much by design, and that's how I want it to be. But yeah, so that's what we're working on. We're working on our Pirate Cove here, and I had sort of toyed with the idea. Yeah, I really hadn't really described anything yet for this. We were just still here because what I had kind of settled on is the idea that in this Pirate Cove, it's going to be, like I say, it's very Goonies, where you have sort of like a river, like an underground river system that leads in off of this little cove area that they're going to be arriving at least from the exterior of the island. And so what I thought of is you could kind of create this system to be such that you have almost two overlaying cave systems. One of them is underwater and one of them is like stone above water, and so sometimes there'll be underwater tunnels that will connect rooms in different ways, so the players won't be able to follow those, but if you have submerged enemies they will be able to follow those, so you can add some cool dynamics in terms of where enemies are moving while the players themselves are trying to move in different directions. And I really like the complexity of that just because it's so simple. Like, I don't have to try and come up with a rule system for, oh, well, how fast can monsters move and how can they, utilize dark or something, darkness to not be noticed by the players. It's just they use underwater tunnels, and so that's what led into where we opened up using merfolk. So, yeah, heck yeah, man. I'll keep an eye out for when you're streaming, and I'll stop by. Yeah, I dig it, man. But I feel you on being busy, man. That's my life this week. Actually, I don't know if I'll be able to stream on Friday or this week, like I'm planning on, because I've got all kinds of stuff with my day job, and then I'm doing a little bit of work in my apartment. So I hear you, man. It's tough. It is tough trying to find that balance always. But yeah, so with the I was thinking we could do the merfolk in here, and so because obviously if we're talking about creatures that can move underwater, that's obvious. And so what that gave me a thought though is that in D&D lore, merfolk are pretty. There's not a whole lot going on with them. They're very just sort of superficial. It's like, yep, they're like an underwater people, and they're a bit smarter than your average underwater fish. But I wasn't satisfied with that, just because with my world and the backstory of it, with this unhinging event, I like being able to give things a lot more history, because to me that's what makes dungeons fun to explore, is if there's some sort of detailed history involved. That really leaves behind relics for players to find. That's how it can be compelling, and it sort of adds that flavor of like Indiana Jones into it. And I really dig that, and I find that players really enjoy that because it sort of gives them an excuse to just be straight up treasure hunters at some times. Because every group in D&D, there's like 3 roles that they always kind of bounce between. Every group always bounces between these 3 roles. There's the role of Sherlock Holmes trying to discover more than actually exists in terms of a mystery. They're always trying to find like, oh, maybe there's that clue and maybe these things are connected or something. And so you get a whole lot of that. Which the best way to handle that is to just utilize the rule of yes and. It's like for those types of mysteries and stuff, my players usually come up with more than I do. I just say yes and pretend like I planned for that all along and just go with it. So there's that role they always try to fill in. There's treasure hunters. They always try to, at some point in time, be treasure hunters. And that's almost more of like a passive background situation of any group of players, because they just are constantly trying to find any bit of cash that they can. They will loot anything. They don't care about morals. They will gladly look through grandma's, silverware drawer and find that one family heirloom silver spoon while she's standing there crying just for the sake of getting a piece of gold. Like they will happily do that. And then the third role that every group always does, and this is the one that's almost the most frustrating for me, because it supersedes all of the other roles that they try to do, and it really gets them into trouble constantly, and that is the, of course, fabled role of murder hobo, where they just try to kill everything in sight. It's like, oh, this small child stuck his tongue out at me. Well, it looks like little Timmy's going to hell. And they just, yeah. So those are the 3 roles that they always do. So I find that if I give all kinds of stuff to encourage the more positive roles, they might forget the less positive roles, which is why I lean heavily into the Indiana Jones treasure hunting role. At any rate, that's a long explanation for why I wanted merfolk to have more history. I really want the merfolk to have some history because I think it would be really cool for the players, especially if they ever start finding some magic and some tools to start delving into underwater treasure hunting to find the remnants of merfolk cities. And so I wanted to add some history here. And so I just kind of added into my notebook here under the races tab some discussions on, I added a group of fringe races. So it's like there's playable races, which are all of the sort of D&D Adventure League ones that can be races that players can play, and those are ones that have a lot of lore already provided by D&D, by Wizards, and so that's for those races I'll tweak some history so that they can fit into my world. But generally speaking, I don't do a lot of work on those. I let them be. Really, the only things that I modify is like, if we're talking about our world here, where in this earth does this, that, or the other race originate, and where do they presently live? So that way I can provide players with a bit of, educated backstory if that's what they're interested in. Wow, that doesn't feel like a very lo-fi song. I'm not sure I'm feeling that one. I'm just gonna move ahead. that was a little blaring there. But yeah, so I do that for the primary races, so to speak. Um, but for the more fringe races, I like to add this extra detail. So things like merfolk. They're not really a playable race, and for good reason. Players would struggle being a merfolk if they're not exclusively at sea. If they wanted to do something, some sort of water-based team, and that's what the Tritons are for. But merfolk, I figure, can have some history. So I kind of have a thought that I'd like to improve, add even more detail than what I've already done here to their history. I mean, this is just a short little blurb. This is really meant to be a placeholder. Because what I wrote here, half fish, half people, all sexy sirens. That's right. That's right. I was feeling a little cheeky, and I felt like it would be funny to reference the uh, uh, reference to the fact that people always have merfolk as being, mermaids being the temptresses of the sea. So, oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that, man. I really appreciate all the help. That's really kind of you, man. I'm happy to be sort of taken under your wing a little bit here. It's tough going getting started, so I really appreciate that you're here helping me out. And I mean, the fact is, what it comes down to is I'm having fun with this. So the more people that can tag along and have fun doing it, then hey, the better for all of us, right? So no, I appreciate that, man. I love the networking, and I'm all about it. And if I ever get my own following, I'll big enough that it matters, I'll definitely want to pay it forward here. Oh man, you're man, you're really helping me out. Yeah, I might just take you up on that. I haven't really set up a Discord system for myself for this channel, but this might be the kick in the pants to actually get myself to do it. I know all of that sort of plays a role in trying to network and build your brand, as they say. So yeah, man, I really appreciate that help. That's really kind of you. I'm very appreciative, and I will most certainly take you up on that. I'll play around with that. Maybe if I can find some time during my lunch break tomorrow or something like that, I'll fiddle around with setting all that stuff up. So thank you so much, Smiles. I really appreciate that. Um, but yeah, so working on this race history here, I what did I write here? Before that, unhinging merfolk were widely considered by many of the enlightened races. So enlightened races is the term that I use within my world to sort of differentiate between like races that are intelligent enough for players to be able to have playable races, and then sort of the quote unquote unenlightened. Those are going to be all of your like, really dumbed down things, and that's how I can differentiate between humanoids that are like playable, functional community races versus just like the monsters that you find in the world. Like obviously a hag is going to be humanoid, but they're not going to really make sense to be considered humanoid the same way that an elf is or something. And so and it's a way to also sort of differentiate between a dwarf and a Durgar. you'd consider a dwarf enlightened, but then the Duergar have sort of lost that enlightenment through the various magical curses and stuff that have been put upon them. So at any rate, that's why I'm using the term enlightened there. So many of the enlightened races to be on the verge of obtaining enlightenment. So there's sort of within this world, the concept of evolution is considered more so the concept of enlightenment, and it's sort of a natural process of this world that, or at least it historically was a natural process of this world, that as races develop, evolve, and learn more, they can eventually gain enlightenment. And when you gain enlightenment, that's sort of like when you're welcomed into larger communities, cities with laws and whatnot, as opposed to just having to live on the outskirts. So in this world, orcs were just sort of like just reaching enlightenment. They were right at the early stages of enlightenment, where some tribes could be communicated with, traded with. You obviously end up with half-orc individuals, so it's like you can have relationships with them, but it's tough because there's still a lot of that sort of barbarian nature about the orcs and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm talking about when I say that in here. Though still a very tribal race, the merfolk had been rapidly growing more cooperative with coastal cities and with ships traveling along common trade routes. Though the standard concept of coexisting coexisting is difficult for the aquatic merfolk, plans to invite tribes to join coastal cities along the shorelines and shipping yards were in place. So that's sort of what I'm trying to do here, is set the stage for, why would there be merfolk, this like violent race as they are in the present time within this world? Why would there be merfolk there, so close to a pre-existing city? So and the idea is that tribes were starting to be invited. They were starting to sort of be welcomed into all of that stuff. But yeah, so then, however, the unhinging ruined everything, as always. Again, I'm just kind of being cheeky here. Like, I'm not really trying to establish my more official Wikipedia style writing that I usually land on with these things. I like to eventually kind of conform these into almost more encyclopedia entries, so that way I can share them with players and it can feel like lore, like something they would read at a library or something like that. It's just a good way to kill two birds with one stone. Build my world and provide props, so to speak, for people. So yeah, due to their sensitivity to changes in water and due to the large impacts the unhinging had on the state of the waters of Zeoria, nearly all merfolk societies were driven to a collective insanity. This has caused most merfolk to revert back to more primitive and tribal mindsets. They are largely aggressive, oftentimes attacking any ships that dare to venture into the wilds, sometimes even utilizing trickery and magic to trap sailors to use as slaves or even pets. And so I'm just sort of trying to establish a mindset of merfolk might have once been close to enlightenment, but these days they're much more savage. But it, by setting up the world this way, it sort of also offers an excuse for why merfolk in particular are more intelligent and more conniving than your standard, owl bear or something like that. They were humans and they have a sort of not humans. They were enlightened and they sort of have that level of intelligence, but their loss of enlightenment has more to do with emotion and attitude. They're now reverted back to a much more vicious existence. And so then I put in here the Marrow, which is going to be sort of a sub-race of the merfolk, subset of the now corrupted merfolk. Marrow are ultra-violent versions. Ultra-violent, I don't know, there's like a hidden, very obscure reference in there. I'm not even going to go into it. Ultra-violent versions of merfolk. It's largely unknown by the enlightened races exactly how the Marrow come to be, but it is known that Marrow are the most dangerous of the merfolk in most modern tribes. And so within the original D&D lore, if I'm remembering properly, the Marrow are the result of sort of an evil ritual conducted by, like, I'm pretty sure the Marrow were specifically created for a module. In which some merfolk essentially sold their soul to a devil or something like that. And so the Marrow are the result of some twisted, like, satanic rituals. It's almost like it really was almost like an Urukai type of situation, but with mermaids. And so that's kind of what they are. So I tweaked that a little bit to make it a bit more bit more cohesive with my world. So, and that's what this next paragraph is. The truth is that many merfolk tribes have learned the ways of some dark magic rituals in which a selected champion or multiple champions from the tribe are transformed through magic into combat champions. These champions are kept almost as violent dogs on leashes to be set upon travelers for the sake of capture, torture, and butchering. So yeah, they really are. I kind of leaned into that concept of them being like mermaid Urkai pretty heavily. And so that's what's going on there. And all of that to say, that's generally what I want going here. And current overlord here, so I've got my difficulty challenge level situations. This is meant to be a level 2 dungeon here. So the boss is going to be CR2, which I'm pretty sure is what the Marrow are set to. I mean, she's not wrong. It is incredibly nerdy, but for me, I'm not sure I understand why that has to be an insult. I think that sounds like a wonderful descriptor for exactly what's going on here. I love being a nerd. And the case in point is I'm having a blast just thinking about this stuff. I love my world, and I have all kinds of fun with it. so you can just pass that message along that it's that damn right we're nerds, and it's an awesome thing to attach yourself to. But yeah, I'm gonna quickly. I use D&D Beyond for so much stuff. It really it really does a good job of providing all the tools that I really need for as a DM for just quick reference and stuff, both while I'm playing and while I'm writing. So I'm pulling up the Marrow stat blocks here just to double check and make sure. So CR2, so these guys are challenge rating 2, and so that comes into play here. So being at level 2, level 2 here, the boss, sort of like the boss monster within here, that's good. I appreciate that. Man, I don't know. It might be, if you're sitting here watching some random dude talk about his self-invented world here, I feel like it doesn't get much nerdier than that, honestly. So, I don't know. You might give her a run for her money. I don't know anything about her, but I struggle to see what could be much nerdier than this exact situation we find ourselves in. But yeah, so if the bosses of this dungeon are going to be at CR2, then our Marrow is going to be our boss. And so in this situation, so the current overlord is sort of meant to be the current boss. And one could argue that the overlord of this whole area is meant to be the Cyclops, but it's my template, and I decide what it means. And to me, that means it's going to be the Marrow. So I'm just going to put... oops, I don't want that bolded. That just looks wrong to me and it matters. We're just going to put Marrow in here. So that way in my quick notes I can see that it's that the Marrow is sort of the overlord. So we've gone through the history of what we can sort of expect to see as far as enemies go, and I'm actually going to enemy type. We're going to put merfolk / Marrow. We're just going to fill that out now. And then current boss of the dungeon, Marrow, because I've got that ironed out and I don't want to have to remind myself of that again. I want that situated there. But now I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of this Pirate Cove. And this is kind of what I was talking about, where the Pirate Cove, prior to the unhinging, was used as a place where a lot of smugglers would sort of seek refuge because of its close location to the mainland. As we can see here, we've got our island. Whoops, I keep trying to use the right click to move here, and that doesn't work in Photoshop. But if we've got our island here, we can see it, especially being close to Bepimat, and you can see these white dotted lines are historic trade routes, coastal shipping routes and trade routes. So you can see, because of its location, it's a really good way for pirates to sort of be out of the way. It's a few miles off the course, so they can sort of remain out of sight, but they're close enough that they can sort of come in here, waylay a ship or two, hide out, or if they want to, they can try and capture everything and then move on. Do I watch Big Bang Theory? You know what? I don't really watch it these days. Used to watch it back in the early seasons, but I just sort of, as time went on, different things happened, lost track of watching TV for a little while in my life, and I just kind of lost track of it. But I'm very familiar with the show, that's for sure. I'm definitely aware of the show. My sister loves that show, and she loves to compare me to the different characters in general. Um, Nice. Okay. Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. That's yeah. It's that's one of the good things about Big Bang Theory. It catches a lot of flack, and I can see why. Because I think nowadays it's kind of leaned a little too heavy into the like, oh, they're nerds, laugh at them, type of humor. But when it first started, it was really cool because it was the first show that really brought things like D&D into a more public eye in a context other than this is Satan's game and it's going to turn your children into Satanists, because that was the prevailing rhetoric for a long time, beginning in like the 80s when it first sort of came about. People thought it was like a real satanic ritual when it was really just a bunch of dorks playing games in the basement. But no, I feel ya, and I'm happy about how, I am happy that Big Bang Theory kind of brought brought it into the mainstream, even if it does these days kind of lean a little into the, oh, we can make fun of it. It's like it still did a really good job of improving the perception of D&D in the world's eyes from the it's Satan stuff, burn it and send your children to Jesus camp. So no, I hear you, man. I hear you. That's it's baby steps. But yeah, so like if we're talking about the history here, I want to put in. So like I said, prior to the unhinging, uh, why can I not type? I keep hitting. I gotta toy around with my I key. I think it's a little too sensitive right now. I think I gotta reset the key cap or something. Prior to the unhinging, how do I want to put this? This cove was used by many pirates as a staging area slash hideout, in between captures and hauls. Its unique setting of I'm going to say underwater caves. It's not exactly what it is, but it's a unique setting of underwater caves on the far side of an island near multiple trade routes meant routes needs an E in it. Routes meant it could serve as an excellent hiding place when needed. So that's kind of the situation there. After the unhinging, the currents of... See, there's an extra I in that. There's an extra I in there. I don't know, maybe my fingers are just getting slippery or something, but it just keeps getting in there, man. The currents around the area made it more difficult for ships to come and go, but it hardly mattered as the concept of... Now that one was definitely a slippery finger situation. I felt my finger hit the eye on that one. Why am I obsessed with the eyes? I gotta relax about the eyes. I gotta just not worry about the eyes. But hardly mattered as the concept of trade and piracy died out along with the vast majority of the world's population. In the following years... Oh, what do we got here? Hey, man. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I totally understand, man. I'm just glad you're able to stop by at all for it. I'm glad you were enjoying it. Yeah, I'll be uploading it to my YouTube channel also immediately after if you prefer to watch it there, but I'll leave the replay up on Twitch for a while too. I make it a habit of doing that. I think my replays stay up on Twitch for 2 weeks. I've got it set. Um, but yeah, no, man, I feel ya. Definitely go get some sleep if you need to. I mean, I stop pretty strictly at 9 o'clock every night because I gotta, get myself to bed if I'm gonna be getting up at 4 a.m. like I do, so I can hit the gym before my day job. So I hear you loud and clear. Thanks for stopping by, Dr. Smile. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate all the help that you've been throwing my way as far as the shout outs, and the Discord help go. I appreciate that, man. So have a good one. Hey, how's it going there, Faylire? Glad you're back here. Have you shown me the Phelan race yet? No, I don't think you showed me that. You were showing me, what was it last time? It was like the different subclasses, I think, is what you were showing last time, if I'm remembering it properly. Um, but no, I haven't seen the Phelan race yet. I'm assuming that's something you're working on here. Um, I don't mind if you post links because I'm not experienced enough to know why it would matter. So I don't have a problem with it. Night, Dr. Smile. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Um, yeah, okay. Yeah, let me finish getting this history written down, and then I'll pull that up. I want to keep the thought process here going. I want to finish the thought before I lose track of it here. So let's see here. Trade piracy died out along with the vast majority of the world's population. In the following years, the now aggressive, tribal, and wandering merfolk found the cave network and began using it as a home. The stable waters and insulation of the island made it a comfortable home as well as a suitable breeding ground for their particularly twisted war champions, now known as the Marrow. Is there anything else I want to add to the history? I think that covers it. Okay, so that's what we've got going on here. Okay, yeah, let me pull this up. Let's see what you got here, Faylare. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Okay, let's see here. Sweet. Okay. Born of both gnomish and dwarven kin, Phelan have both fey blood and hardy ancestry surging within them. From deep mountainous caves to lustrous hills, they are versatile and crafty in nature. They are incredibly talented in the arts of tinkering and smithing, and many take up professions of artifice. Okay, alright, I feel that. Especially with that gnomish blood. Um, let's see here. Phelan traits. Ability score increase. Intelligence score increases by 1. That makes sense. Age, due to being both gnomish and dwarven blood, Phelan live for hundreds of years. However, they mature very slowly, usually reaching adolescence around 35 years and adulthood around 75. That tracks. That makes sense. Phelan tend to be neutral in alignment. Fair enough. Size. Phelan are often between 3 to 4 foot tall, although some are even shorter. Size is small. Okay. All right. Speed. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes perfect sense. They're gnomish and dwarvish. Speed. Your base walking speed is 25 feet. Your speed is not reduced when wearing heavy armor. That tracks because of the dwarvish ancestry there. Dark vision. You can see dim light within 60 feet. Yep. Darkness, dim light. You can't discern color. Yep. Standard stuff. Master artisan. You gain proficiency with one type of artisan's tools of your choice. Can also add a D4 to checks made with the chosen tool. Okay. Languages. You can speak, read, and write Common, Gnomish, and Dwarven. Makes sense. Iron Blood Phelan. Phelan who come from rocky mountainous areas are known as Iron Bloods after their incredible resilience. They tend to take more after their dwarven kin, being incredibly stubborn and bold. That makes sense. I'm on board with that. Iron Blood traits. Ability score increase. Constitution scores increased by 2. Iron Blood toughness. You gain 1 additional hit point per level and advantage on saving throws made against poisons, curses, and diseases. Okay, all right. The curses, the poisons and diseases track for me. Um, Curses, I would need to think about. I just worry that if we give them too many resistances, that they become a little OP. If they have all of that stuff naturally. Curses, it's not the worst thing, especially because curses don't come up super often. But I guess the reason I zero in on that one is because poisons and diseases track like with each other. Um, but I'm not completely against it. But like if there's one thing that I'm looking at, I guess it's more so from from a DM perspective. I think like okay, that's something unique that I would have to think about how to deal with so that I could still provide reasonable challenges. Um, but yeah, Sparkborn Phelan. Phelan who live in hot, rocky climates such as valleys or mesas are known as Sparkborn. They're incredibly energetic and prideful, taking more after their gnomish kin. They have a minor control over the elements of fire and are often incredulous forces of personality. Sparkborn traits: ability score increase, charisma score increases by 2. Pyrokinetic, you know the control flame cantrip. When you reach 3rd level, you can cast the Hellish Rebuke spell once using this trait and regain the ability to do so on a long rest. When you reach, sorry, I noticed a little thing about an email. Moving on. When you reach 5th level, you cast the Heat Metal spell once using this trait. Again, the ability to do so on a long rest. Charisma is your spellcasting ability for all these spells, and they do not require verbal, somatic, or material components. Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I'm on board with that. I think that sounds pretty awesome. Woodlander Phelan. Phelan who live in hilly plains and forests are known as woodlanders. They are often very calm and serene, protecting their family and homeland as their duty. Many become rangers and druids, bonding with the land even further. Sure. All right. Woodlander traits. Ability score increase. Your wisdom score increases by 2. Bonus proficiencies. You gain proficiency in nature and survival. Woodland Adept. You ignore difficult terrain caused by broken earth or foliage. Additionally, you can see through lightly obscured areas caused by natural environments, such as light foliage or mild fog, as if it were unobscured for up to 30 feet. Okay, yeah, I'm on board with that, especially if we're talking like ranger classes and stuff. Let's see here. Rune-Scarred Phelan. A special group of Phelan, known as Rune-Scarred, are imbibed with protective magics from the Feywild due to their lineage. This takes the form of various chaotic markings on their body resembling runes. Rune-Scarred traits. Ability score increase. Your intelligence and strength scores increase by 1. Protective sigils. You gain resistance to force damage. Additionally, whenever you roll a saving throw, you can expend a hit die to roll a d4 and add it to the result of your save. Okay, alright. I'm on board with that. Shadow Soul Phelan. Phelan born with the darkness of the Underdark, often by slavery between Duergar and Svirfneblin, are known as Shadow Souls. They have an uncanny knack for seeing within darkness, better than even some beings from the Shadowfell. Shadow Soul traits. Ability score increase. Your dexterity scores increase by 2. Shadow Sight. Your dark vision increases to a range of 200 feet. And for up to 20 feet, you can see through magical darkness. However, even in bright and dim light, you cannot discern color. Only see shades of purple gray. And so, yeah. That's sensible. Languages. You can speak, read, and write Undercommon. Crystal Mind Phelan. Phelan born in large crystalline areas may develop minor psionics, known as crystal minds. They can control the minds of others through mesmers and mental magics. Ability score increase. Your intelligence and charisma scores increase by 1. Crystal Psionics. You learn the Mold Earth cantrip. When you reach 3rd level, you can cast the Dissonant Whispers or Silent Image spell once using this trait and regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability for these spells, and they do not require verbal, somatic, or material components. When you reach 5th level, you gain a 10-foot blind sense, so long as you are not incapacitated. Okay, alright, yeah, I feel it. This is a very... it feels like you made a very catch-all race here, in the sense that it's got a little something in here for anyone. So regardless of what people are interested in, there's something that can probably fit the bill. So I feel that. Let's see here. Iron Blood, very tanky. Sparkbone, Chaotic Fire, Linder, so in tune with nature. Rune-Scarred. tanky and smart. Shadow Soul can see everything. Crystal Mind, yeah, it's big brain time. Yep, that's kind of the sense I was getting for all of them. So, no, I feel it. Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's cool that you've kind of created something. Like I say, I feel like there's something for everyone in there, and I think what's cool about that is it's a race that can serve really well if you wanted to do like a common origin story for a party. So if it's like a party that all comes from the same place, from the same society, the same community, I think that sets up a very good background because it can be such that they all start from the same sort of the same um, the same race there, and so sort of the same society, but there's enough there that they can kind of be whatever they want to be. Um, yeah, Shadow Soul Gloomstalker would be terrifying. I feel you there. Um, but yeah, no, I like it. I dig it. I dig what you got going on there. That's cool stuff, man. Yeah, I definitely creating races isn't something that I really have the mind for. I'm much better at creating worlds and stuff like that. So, so hey, Failure, I know you just came in, and I am gonna keep going, but I need to take a quick break. My mouth is incredibly dry. I've got a couple people blowing up my phone, and I've got an email that I've been waiting for all day that I gotta check. So I'm gonna take like a 10-minute break, get myself something to drink, take care of a little bit of business, and we'll come back in for an hour. So if you want to keep sticking around, we'll do some. I'm gonna do some more writing on my world. But if you want to go find other stuff too, I totally understand. So I will be back in just a few minutes. So hang tight. back. I'm back. Thanks for hanging in. Thanks for hanging in and letting me take care of all my crazy, weird stuff that I gotta deal with in my real life. Which is dumb. Who wants to deal with that crap? Okay. Welcome back. Welcome back to my stream. I'm EnviroBoy, and I'm still convinced it's the dumbest name I could have come up with, but I'm we're going with it, and we're gonna keep on writing. So we're working on writing up some details and working on a sort of a new dungeon for myself. Well, not myself, for my D&D group here. We had just sort of started. We set out the history of what this dungeon is. So it's gonna be we're working on our. Where's our map? So we're working on our little island here, our little tropical island in our crazy messed up world. It's all broken and shit. And we've already made our shipwreck beach, which is here. And now we're working on our pirate cove, which is going to be tucked back here on sort of the north side of the island, which is, if we go to our overview world, here's our island in the center, right? And so the pirate cove is over here, which is on the far side of the island in reference to where the rest of the coast is. So that's what we're working on, and we've sort of established a history of this as being it's meant to be sort of, well, it was historically sort of a little hideout that pirates would use, and I keep referencing, and as you can see in the reference for the title of this one, assuming that it went up properly, when I look at the information of the stream, like when I go to edit it, it shows that I've got the proper stuff, but then on my little heads up display here, it's showing that I'm playing Borderlands, which isn't true at all. So I'm hoping that it's proper on the Twitch stream, and that people aren't coming here thinking that I'm streaming Borderlands and like just utterly disappointed by that. As I'd feel bad about that. But at any rate, so yeah, as seen by that title, this is meant to be a very Goonies feeling type of dungeon, where there's like sort of these underwater caves, these water caves, waterlogged caves is maybe a better term for it. They're not really underwater. And they're kind of infested by these aggressive, tribal, evil merfolk and their marrow, which are sort of like the mermaid version of Urukai, as I'm sort of painting them in this world of mine. So that is what we are working on here. Let me see here. Shoot, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm dealing with other stuff in my real life real quickly. So okay. So yeah. So I'm trying to flesh out just sort of the scratching the surface details here, and then after that, sort of my process is we of course build our overworld for the region, and then we start working on our detailed stuff. And the way the detailed stuff works is I kind of give our surface look. I give our at a glance notes that I keep handy, ready to go at a moment's notice. Then we kind of describe who our villains are, and if there are going to be any allies, we sort of describe what those are going to be like. And I try to keep those. I lay all those out ahead of time because then those help us when we get to our details. And so when we get to our map details, that's when we'll take the time to build our actual map. I like to build the map, and then I go through the process of filling the map. So that's the process that works for me. And the reason I stick to a process is if I stick with this routine, this process, this format, then I'm much less likely to get bogged down by sort of writer's block, trying to sit there thinking about, well, what should I write about? I know I've got this idea and I want to do this thing. What should I write about? I can avoid that stuff if I have my formula, my format that I work with. So that's what I'm just kind of sticking with here. So we're gonna do enemies. I'm gonna merfolk, marrow, and I'm probably gonna have to come up with a few other things. Yeah, because we'll do some. So the main bad guy here, we're gonna put the marrow here. The Marrow is like a mermaid version of Urukai. Is that how you spell Urukai? I wasn't too far off. Urukai. I can just point out how awesome it is that word includes Urukai as an not as an autocorrect, but as a dictionary term. That's badass. I love that. That makes me really happy. um, so, Urukai, he's tortured, he's angry, and if he breaks free of his chains, he'll try to eat you for sure. So we're going to do that, and so then the lackeys are going to be all of our other guys, and we'll get to that. Because I think we're going to need to add some other enemies in here, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Marrow, so I'm just going to quickly do here, boss equals Marrow. Right, because the Marrow is going to be sort of the boss monster that they have to deal with. If they deal with if they want to complete the dungeon. I try to not make it so that any part of the dungeon is dependent on other parts. I know that in a lot of scenarios that's a really good way to add intrigue to a dungeon, but for me, when it's D&D, since it's not your character traveling around and it's not like the same fast pace that you get in a video game, if you have to do a lot of backtracking in a dungeon, it just feels like a slog. It feels slow, it feels boring, it feels cumbersome, and it feels irritating if you have to re-roll initiative every time you walk into a room, especially one that you previously cleared out. So I try to make it so that the dungeon is like nothing in the dungeon is dependent on other things in the dungeon. Maybe every once in a while, if I really feel like, if it's really meant to be a boss dungeon, a challenging dungeon, make it so that the boss has the key or something like that. But try to keep it simple. And for a low-level dungeon like this, I like to try and keep it so that theoretically players can get through a dungeon without actually having to enter single combat, right? They can succeed at what they want to do without combat. And vice versa, they could clear out everything and have made zero progress towards completing their goal, right? It's like the basically what I try to do is I try to make sure that the player's goal is separate from the reason that the enemies are in there for the most part, because it's just too convenient. If it's like you need to steal this object, here's a bunch of monsters that are trying to protect this object, and it kind of goes against the nature of the world that I'm trying to create here, where it's much more things are randomly shit and it's terrible and everyone is liable to die at any given time, so good luck. A lot of the treasures that I like to try and bury in my world are sort of more like relics of an ancient time type of treasures is what I try to go for. So that's why the boss is the Marrow, but it's not even going to be necessarily an important thing for them to kill him. They don't have to kill him, is what I'm going for anyway. So treasure and reward types. We're definitely going to do pirate treasure doubloons. That's not how you spell doubloons, is it? Doubloons, like it's double. Doubloons. Gold crowns, chalices, etc. Things like that. Pirate treasure, probably something cursed, because there's always something cursed when we're talking about pirate treasure. That's like a rule. Okay. Puzzle trap themes. So I like to make sure that if I'm adding puzzles and traps that they stay thematic. So I think the puzzle and trap themes in this one are going to be so there's going to be puzzle/trap types. Let's see here. Puzzles to protect treasure from thieves, which is always ironic because the pirates were the original thieves, right? And they don't want people thieving the stuff that they thieved. Um, but so that's going to be our puzzle type there, I think. And then for traps, honestly, when we're talking about a dungeon like this, traps are just gonna be our crumbling caves around them. So they're not even so much traps in this one. The dangers are just gonna come from the fact that this is a natural environment that is subject to change because of the nature of this world that it's in. This world that is greatly impacted by ongoing magic, and I've explained in past streams, but I haven't explained in this one, so I don't know if anyone's watching and curious about it. The thing that with this one is this whirlpool off to the side here on this map. This whirlpool is the source of a lot of sort of uncontrolled magic. It's like a source of wild magic, and this island is very much impacted by it. So when we're talking about a natural setting where it's like fragile caves, like I say, it's very Goonies style, a cave that can be shattered by just a boat going through it at 2 miles per hour, and we have all of this sort of ethereal rift going through it. We're naturally going to have a lot of instability, and so that's where a lot of the sort of traps are going to be. It's like if they're not careful, they might knock a series of stalagmites or stalactites that will fall from the ceiling and land on people. Stalactites are the ones up, right? Because they hold tight to the ceiling. I think that's what I remember. I don't know. It's so irrelevant and no one cares. But I don't know. I care. I don't want to get it wrong. It'll look stupid if I do that. I don't want to do that. I'm trying to look like I know what I'm doing. No one cares. So it's going to be the nature of the traps. Like puzzles are going to be there for the pirates trying to protect their treasure and whatnot, sort of, from beyond the grave in essence there. Any other atmospheric notes, I'm just going to delete that. I don't think there's really anything else that I want to add to this. Primary tasks, I'm going to leave this. Well, no, I'm not. Primary tasks. So we want to just set out. So it's important to note that when I'm saying, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to delete this and then add our bullets. So it's important to note that when I'm adding primary tasks, I'm not intending for the tasks to be of a nature of like, you have to do this, you have to accomplish this. For me, it's more so primary tasks are meant to be what can be accomplished in here. Like I say, I really dislike railroading my players. I don't like forcing them to do a specific thing in a dungeon. I like providing them a dungeon and some reasons to go into that dungeon, but ultimately what they do in there and what they're hoping to accomplish, that's up to the players. As a DM, I take it very seriously that it's not my game, it's the group's game. And I want them to seriously feel like they're in charge of the story. So when I say primary tasks, like D&D isn't, in a lot of ways it feels like a video game oftentimes when you're trying to write stuff for it, right? You try to create dungeons that have interesting rooms and interesting puzzles and interesting enemies. So it can feel a lot like a video game, but when you're trying to tell a D&D story, it's a collaborative storytelling process. So it's going to be very different than writing a story for a video game. In a video game, you really can be much more narrow in it because in a lot of ways, a video game is meant to be a very interactive story, right? Some video games will try to offer up that freedom and say multiple endings and stuff like that, but the fact is they're trying to create a static product. When you're writing a video game, you're creating a static product. It's one disc, it's one game that will always ultimately follow the same pathway. That's what it is. That's what it's meant to be, and that's okay. That's not a criticism on video games. Some of the best video games are incredibly linear. Look at The Last of Us. Look at Shadow of the Colossus. Things like that. It might be, open world in the sense that you can kind of wander around. Like think about Grand Theft Auto, right? It's very open world in a lot of ways. But when you're doing the story is very linear, right? There are specific story beats that you're trying to accomplish. D&D is not that way. D&D is a collaborative storytelling effort. So if I go in as a DM with this mindset of I'm writing a story for you and you have to do what I set out for you in this story, it's not going to be satisfying for players and they're going to be frustrated, right? Because it's you've got a group of, up to 7 or 8 people depending on how brave you are as a DM. You've got this big group of people that all of them have ideas on the story they want to tell. It's meant to be a very collaborative process, which is why I always say D&D is better played by a group of friends who have no idea what they're doing than by a group of strangers who all know exactly what they're trying to do, right? Because everyone's got their own idea, and so if it's a group of friends, they're going to be much more willing to sort of acquiesce to each other's ideas and stuff like that. But what that means for me as a DM, as the guy who's creating that story for them, is I really have to be willing to take a back seat. I provide the hooks, I provide the starts, but what I always do is I always tell my players, create some backstory and give me that backstory so I can provide hooks so that then you, as the player, can guide your character through their personal story. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So primary tasks in this dungeon have very little to do with what they are expected to do. The primary tasks are going to be what exists in this dungeon, what is there to do aside from what they decide they're doing, or what can facilitate them doing what they're doing. So what I'm going to put in here is I'm going to put things like treasure to be found, right? And as I come up with more details, I'm going to put that there, because really all I'm creating here is a shorthand for me to remember and refer back to when I'm going into the heavy details of this map, right? That's what I'm trying to do here. So treasure to be found, merfolk to be encountered, and we can do friends, question mark, foes, and that's going to be up to the players. That's something that, like, there's explicit opportunity for the players to interact with the merfolk that I'm putting in here. But with the nature of the merfolk being very evil, savage individuals, at least within this dungeon, it's going to be up to the players on whether or not that makes them friends or foes. And the way that turns into a story beat is I have the freedom. I'm not bound like a video game is to, I only have programmed for so many things, so everything's going to have to fit within this sort of window. Me as a human being with the immortal power of a yes and, is when they come in here, and if I have these, if I have a bunch of losing my train of thought here. Like if I have players that are trying to make friends with a race that I've set up to be very evil and confrontational, what does that mean for the implication of these players? And so that might impact what other hooks I throw their way. So I never throw at them a conclusion. I never fill a dungeon with conclusions. I fill a dungeon with opportunities. And that's what these primary tasks are. And I know I'm getting intense about this, but I feel really strongly about this, and I feel like this mindset can really make or break a DM, right? If a DM goes in with an agenda of what the conclusion is going to be, it's not going to be fun for players, and you're going to find yourself fighting with your players all the time, right? And your players are just going to take joy in trying to ruin everything. I provide my players with nothing about opportunities, and they still try to destroy everything for me, which is all the more reason for me to not go in there with specific intents in mind. But it's something that I feel passionate about, and it's something that I think a lot of DMs can learn from and learn about to, better run their games, and better provide a fun experience for their players, their friends. Holy crap, my mouth is dry. And why did I drink soda? That doesn't help. I grabbed water. I grabbed beautiful, sparkling water in one of my fancy new glasses. I bought myself new glasses because I was like, I'm tired of all my old, cloudy, scratched glasses. Half of them are broken. My set's half the size. Like, I'm an adult. I've got a paycheck. I'm going to buy some cups. It's refreshing. And it's satisfying. Because it's something that I bought with my hard-earned, like, $8. That's not true. Well, it's like... Nah, that's not true. I suppose I have a confession to make. I'm not poor. I'm lower middle class, which is barely better than poor. I was able to afford a $20 set of glasses. So it was 4 glasses. So it's like that one glass was $5. So, I don't know. I don't know why I'm pretending to be ashamed. There's not even a joke there. I'm just being an idiot. Um, looks like I've got a spam thing in my chat. Hooray! I'm maybe that means I'm making a name for myself. That I've got actual I've got spam showing up in my in my chat. I don't know. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming at with primary tasks. Um, treasure to be found. There's going to be some treasure in there. I haven't really identified. I haven't thought about it in my head exactly what that treasure is going to look like, but I'm going to provide treasure for my players. It's going to happen. It always happens, right? Because like I was saying earlier in this stream, players will inevitably spend time as wannabe treasure hunters. They're going to spend some time believing that they're Indiana Jones. And so I can either fight that, or I can make sure I provide them with every opportunity to live out that fantasy. Because after all, we're playing a group effort fantasy game, right? That's what we're doing. We're playing an imaginary game meant to distract us from how crappy the real world is, so we can pretend that we're awesome heroes in an awesome magical world. So of course there's treasure to be found. Of course. Goddamn right there's treasure. Merfolk to be encountered. Friends, foes. Again, that's just sort of a yes and opportunity. Are they going to make friends with the evil race? What does that mean for how they're viewed in the world? Like those that have good deities that they follow, like anyone who follows, Bahamut. How's Bahamut going to feel about them making friends with the merfolk who actively torture their own people for the sake of making a war champion? That doesn't sound very Bahamut-like. So, how's that going to be taken by their gods? Those are the types of things that then, when I go into, I gotta rename these guys. I'm gonna rename this one right now. I'm gonna name them the Pirate Group, because that's what they want to be. The Pirate Group. There we go. Yeah. So, I keep detailed notes on here. I've got detailed notes about each character, and then game and group dynamic notes. So deity connections, they all seem to worship more chaotic gods, so expect lots of insanity. Seems about right for any D&D group, because I'm a cheeky son of a bitch when I take notes. Mix of good and evil, though it seems as though the ones that worship evil do so almost out of perceived necessity rather than desire for evil. I say that because a lot of them, they want to be pirates, and so they made a lot of them come from like a mariner type of background. And so a lot of them worship the sort of like chaotic / evil gods of the sea. But when you think about it in that sense, it's more so like they worship them in the sense to appease them so that they can survive when they're out at sea. So so with that in mind, if they make friends with the merfolk, how do their gods view that? Are their gods on board with that because they're chaotic, and so it's almost like the players are accepting their role as a part of the chaos of the sea? Or are the gods or the deities going to be upset with that because they're choosing to make friends with these nasty creatures that even the gods would be like, ugh, no. So that's important stuff to have in mind. So let's go ahead and talk about some villains and allies now, though, because this is an important part. So the main bad guy here is the Marrow. Marrow, and I've already got this written out. The Marrow is a mermaid version of Urukai. He's tortured. He's angry. Breaks free his chains, he'll try to eat you for sure. Oh, I already wrote that out. I did that. I did that already on purpose. Okay. So now we got to talk about our lackeys. So I have my system of uniformity here that I follow. Oops, not page formatting. Challenge levels and enemies. Right. So our boss. Oops, no. Why did I did not want that to happen. Unitalicized. Don't do that. Don't do that. So the way I've got it set up here in the parentheses, it's the number of these enemies it would take to create an easy encounter based on just sort of the math system that's widely agreed upon. They have their encounter builders in D&D Beyond, and in the other one that I use is Kobold Fight Club. I use both of those tools. They're incredibly helpful in trying to create balanced encounters for players. With that in mind, 10 CR0 enemies will be an easy encounter. 5 CR 1/8 will be an easy encounter 3, CR 1/4, and 1 CR2 will be an easy battle, and that's set at level 2. So our CR2, our challenge rating 2, that's our marrow, that's our boss battle, and I keep that at easy because even though I want it to be a difficult to deadly encounter, if I set the boss to be just one of them is easy, then I can have some room to put in some lackeys, some minions for him to fight. And I think that makes a much more dynamic and interesting boss battle. I think it's not as much fun if it's just one guy that can just basically be a pin cushion for them to keep hitting until they eventually kill him. There's not the same level of challenge involved in there unless we're talking like legendary enemies, but at level 2 that's not going to happen. So we need to decide on some enemies that are CR 1/4, CR 1/8, and CR0. Now we've kind of already figured some of that with our merfolk here. So let me see here. Let me try and recall. Merfolk. Filters and mount stales. Merfolk is our CR 1/8. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So, CR 1/8. So we need CR Merfolk CR 1/8, and then I also, just so it's there and convenient, I put the experience points. Oh, did I already figure this out? I did already figure this out. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I did figure it out. I put it down here below. I'm just going to copy this and paste this right here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. There we go. Okay, so we've got ourselves our sort of lackeys there, and I just don't think there's a whole lot else to write here. That's right, yeah, and we've got the leaders are enslaved turtles. They're gonna be more. Sorry, because I needed the 1/4, so there's gonna be some turtles there that are good fighters, and they're enslaved. And my thought is that there's almost a sense of, what's it called? Frick, what's it called when you fall in love with your captors? Stockholm syndrome. That's what it is. Stockholm syndrome. Sort of a Stockholm situation is sort of what I'm going for here. Shoot, I'm sorry, my phone's blowing up again. Okay. Yeah. No, we can finish off our 25 minutes here before I have to deal with anything else. I'm just sorry. My phone's blowing up. I'm trying to make sure there's none of its emergencies. Because I've got private life. I've got my own life. I've got a day job that is crazy this week. A lot of stuff going on. Anywho, so yeah. So the turtles are going to be sort of a Stockholm syndrome type of thing. I've got them set as leaders, but it's almost more like they're just combat leaders, and that the actual like thought process leaders are still going to be the merfolk, but it's like the merfolk stay off to the side and they order the turtle to go in and fight. So I'm going to keep it at that, I think. And then the crabs as the fodder. They're just little crabs that run around. Sorry, beard hair. Ugh. Just shaved. There's a few other shaved. I trimmed the beard, and there's little bits of hair that still exist in it. Yeah, the crabs are just there for just to be pinchy, just maybe try and whittle down a few spells and stuff here and there. So we've got that figured out. So allies. So as of right now, I'm going to put no specific allies. May rely on some of the cursed slaves on the island for assistance, though players will be unlikely to convince any of them to actually enter the Toe the Cove. Okay, so there aren't really going to be any alleys. Alleys exist on the island, but they're not going to be anything, excuse me, that players can really rely on. So 20 minutes. I think we can go ahead and I think 20 minutes is enough time to go ahead and get our dungeon going here. So here's what I'm going to do for our dungeon too. This is an idea I have, and I'm not quite sure how well it's going to work, but we're going to try it. I'm going to experiment. We'll spend 20 minutes sort of experimenting with this. So when I'm making a dungeon, I definitely take advantage. I don't try to reinvent the wheel. You know, we have tools right here that work pretty well. You know, that create what I need pretty dadgum well. 34 by 22. Alright, so 34 by 22, I set that up so that way it can easily fit 1 square per inch on my 2 by 3 foot board that I have in real life if I need to do it. Turns out that ends up being a really good size for let's see here. So oops, yeah. So 34. Oops, we want to do custom 34 by 32 rows. So we're just going to construct here. So what I want to do is I want to create. No, that's not going to work. Room size. Let's just try setting that to large and see what that does for us here. It's 5 rooms. We got a few things there. No, I'm not pleased with that still. Okay, first off, ninja motif, we can do none. Let's see here. The Pirate Cove. Dungeon level 2. It doesn't really matter. Party size 4. That doesn't really matter. Well, we'll do party size 5 because that's how I set it to. Map style. I love the look of the parchment, but I need the high contrast just to make this a bit of an easier process. While this is going, I'm going to load up my tool. That sounded dirtier than I meant it to. My Dungeon Painter Studio. That's my that's the tool that I really like to use for map making here. So we got this dungeon layout. Hexagon is fine, I think. Dungeon size custom. Peripheral egress, we'll put yes. Stairs, no. Room layout, complex is good. Room size, let's try medium. Doors, standard, whatever. Corridors, I'm gonna make the corridors labyrinth. Remove dead ends, none. Okay, let's see what that develops for us here. It's not changing the room size at all. It's getting kind of frustrating here. Fine, we'll do small construct. Let's see what that does. If we need to, we'll get rid of the hexagon. There we go. That works. That works. And we can just turn one section of hallway into one. So, okay, so here's how we're going to do this. I think I got time to do this. So what we're gonna do is create 2 layers. This is gonna be our player layer, and then we're going to do an underneath a water layer. It's probably gonna take some toying with and some doing to try and figure out how to get them to overlay in such a way that I can see them both. But that's what I wanna. That's what I'm gonna try and do. So let's see here. We're going to do cave here for the ground, and we want to do polygon. So let's just go for it, I suppose. So if it's going to be, so I want to basically set up, hold on, I'm just going to draw a line just so I can visualize my space a bit better here. So we got 22, 23, 24. We're going to do 24 so that way I can have, we're going to do 24 by 36. So that way I can have a border like a little border around my frame there to think about and work with here. So that's going to make it a bit easier, I think. And so looking at that, that's going to be 3 in the way they've got it set up. So we're going to go to room, got our cave. We want to do it this way. It's 3 in by 1, 2. Hold on. I need to count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, so it's got 1 extra there. So we're really working with 23, and they gave us a thing. 23 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Yeah, so it's got 35 going. So if we're going to do it, so we'll put the extra one, I'm going to put the extra one up there because that's where it'll add our, when I make the copy, that's where it's going to add our, so it's going to get goofy on me and try to add our border there. So it's really starting with our frame there, and we can then consider it as being the same exact size as this. So like that's the extra, that's this top row, that's going to be our grid. This is the border that it gives us, and then this is like if it were to start right in that corner. So it starts off, so this room, I start by doing all the rooms first. So the room is going to be, if we're assuming that's our corner, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 in, 9 down, and 2 in. So 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we go there. So we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go down 2, 3, 4, 5, down by 5. We go over 2, down 2, over 3, and then up 3. So there's our first room. And so from there, the reference points get much, much easier to make sense of. So there's our rooms, and then we've got a hallway that goes there. It ends up being a lot of little bits, but we can clean that up and make that easier to work with in a bit. So let's see, looking at our time. Yeah, we got 15 minutes. So I'm actually thinking what's probably going to end up happening is I will finish this little chunk that I'm working on here, and then we will start our water layer next time. So 2, 3, 4, 5. For 1, go down 4. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we go down 1, 2, 3. Shoot, man, it's hard to see it sometimes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We go down 6. Yep, and then we go over 1. And then 6, 7, 8. Over 2. Up 2. Over 2. Up 1. Over 3. Down 2, over 2, down 2, over 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5, just for the sake of the room. And then we go over another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 like that. Go down 2, over 1, yep. Up 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the room. It's just easier to break it up in little chunks like that. Then we go over 1, 2, go down 2, over 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4, over 2. Wow, we just kind of didn't mean to, but we're starting into like the entire thing. Go down 1, 2, 3. We'll do 4 because that'll get us to the room, and then the room is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, so here's where it kind of gets a little tricky. That should be a long tunnel. I'm going to make that turn into a dead-end tunnel with that peripheral egress, I think, and instead just have this area, I'm pointing there as if people can see that. I'm going to have this area here be just sort of our large entry cavern is what I'm going to do for it. So instead of this long egress, I think I'm just going to nix that and just have that not be part of it. So instead, so we've got our room, so then our room goes over 1, 2, 3, 4, because then we go down 1, go over 2, down 3, go over 4, down 1. Uh-oh, I goofed up on our spacing somehow. It's okay, I'll analyze and fix it later if I need to. 2, 3, 4. We'll figure it out. I'm sure it'll become obvious where I went wrong at some point in time. So let me just do it chunk by chunk. 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we can do one more. We go up 2, over 2, up 3, over 2, up 1, over 3, down 2, over 2, down 1, 2, 3, over 1, up 2, over 1, down 2, over 2, down. Let's see, I'll start. We've got a chunk of 5 that we got to do, and then we do another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another 6 there. We go up 2 just to get to our room, and then the room is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. And we go over another 5. Yep. And then we go down 5 again. Go over 4 this time, so then we can go like that. Bring that over there. Holy poop balls, that goes all the way up. Seeing, yep, that goes all the way up there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up 2, over 1, down to there. There, there. Oh, okay, so there's where our extra space is, I think. And extra space is 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. I goofed something up. I can tell I goofed something up. 'Cause there's more space there than there should be. Yep, I goofed it up, and it's unfortunate because it's a whole big chunk of stuff. Okay, hold on. Hold up. Let me just try this. Let me try something different here. So we know we've got our line. Okay, we're gonna try and just do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do what I was doing before, but I'm gonna try again, being a bit more careful, and I'm not even gonna worry about building like the separate line or the separate rooms and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm just gonna try it again. That's all there is to it, okay, right? That's all there is to it. And so this is, we're imagining that's our starting point. We're imagining that's where our black frame starts, and so then we want to go in 1, 2, 3. It's got to be 3. Yeah, you can tell it's 3. 2, 3, 4. So if that's where our frame starts, we go 1, 2, 3 there, and then if we're starting there, so we're at our frame, so we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, hold up. If that's our frame, we go down 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. We go down 7, and that corner will be our starting point. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom. Okay, let's try it again. Go over there. Go down 2. Over 4. This is so complex and it's so boring for anyone watching. This is like the stupidest thing for me to do. I should really do this off screen, but dang it, we're already in it, and this is the next step that I got to do. So we're just gonna suck it up and do it. It's up 5. Yeah, see, no, I'm already off. I can already tell that I'm off. Oh shoot, I didn't mean to delete that. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Hold on, I gotta make my line again here. So here's what we're gonna do. Yeah, no, we still gotta stick to the 24 by 36. There we go. Okay. Zoom in a bit. Okay. All right. So we're gonna try again. So okay. So 24 by 36, and remember this corner is like the corner that's the black there. So if we go over 1, 2, 3, 4. If we go over 3, that brings us right to the corner. So if we go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that brings us right to the corner. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should bring us right to our corner where 6 is. So we'll try and do that. Oh, hey, new follower. So, oh, it went away. Wait, hold up. Where is it? How do I do this? I don't know what I'm doing. Spooky80. Hey, thank you. Spookays80. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. That's super awesome. I'm doing all right. How are you doing? I'm glad you're in here to watch the most boring part of my world building here. I'm trying to transfer a map. It gets much more interesting once I get the framework of the map done, but we are presently trying to transfer this map over, and I'm just trying to eyeball it because I have yet to find an automated system to transfer it into here in a way that pleases me so that I can then manipulate the map as I want to. And it's really important I get things right because I'm creating a dungeon that is a cave network over top of an underwater cave network. I'll call you Spooky. I appreciate that. I always appreciate the ease because I'm terrible at names. I'm so bad at names. But yeah, thanks for the follow, Spooky. Yeah, I'm transferring a map here because I'm in the middle of trying to create a dungeon that's going to be a cave network that players can walk on that's over top of like an underwater cave network. And that underwater cave network is where you get a bunch of merfolk and whatnot that travel around the dungeon just to make shenanigans even more random and unpredictable for players because it's not mean enough for it to just be difficult. We have to make it really crazy. English is hard. I'm really bad at it. I don't know why I got into writing. I'm not a writing major in any way, shape, or form. I never excelled at that stuff. But I insisted on doing this, and now here I am. So yes, I am trying to transfer. Oh my goodness gracious! Why am I? Oh, I see what I'm doing wrong because I'm on the wrong tool here. That's what she said. I shouldn't. That's such a bad joke. I shouldn't be making that joke. It's such a terrible joke. Okay, so I'm trying to start this room number 6 here. We go down here, and then it goes down 5. It's such a boring process. You came in at a terrible time. Oh, nice. I appreciate that, man. I think this is. So I've been trying to get involved in streaming both my writing process for my homebrew world and doing some video gaming. And as much as I love the excuse to play more video games, I gotta say I actually really like this stream because I am already meeting a lot of very creative people who are way better than me at creating things, and it is so awesome to share ideas with people like that. So I think that's awesome that you're working on that. Hold on, I gotta count for a minute. 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, it'd be so much easier if I would zoom in, but I'm stubborn, so I'm just gonna lean into it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I gotta do 8 spaces. 8 there. I'm glad it has like a little counter for me. So we go over here. Let me go up to meet it here. Yeah, sure. Send whatever tools you've got along. I love learning what different people's processes are. That's one of the best ways to sort of improve your own process is to sort of learn from each other, right? So yeah, by all means, let's see, go down 3 here, go over 1, got a room that goes up 2, goes over 4, and then we've got our little dongle that comes off there, our dangly dongle. And we're gonna do the 2 just so I can keep track of it. And then the room goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7. Oh yeah. The home brewery. I'm familiar with the home brewery. Yeah, that's an awesome tool. Especially if you want to, at least as long as it's the tool I'm thinking of. That's really awesome if you want to sort of create something that's got a sort of a published finish to it. Yeah, and I toy around with using it myself quite a bit. The only thing that kind of stops me is really it comes down to laziness because as it stands right now, I'm not concerned as much about publishing. This is 100% a passion project for me. I just love D&D. I love playing it, and I love creating worlds for my friends to enjoy and play in. So I actually just use OneNote for pretty much all of my writing. Once I'm done creating this map here, I'm using Dungeon Painter Studio. Once I'm done creating this map in Painter Studio, I'll basically probably just create a JPEG and plop it right in OneNote. So it's got notes that are quick to access for me while I'm in the middle of a session, and a JPEG so that it's easy to share with my friends. So when they're, with my players, so when they're playing, they have an easy access to it. But yeah, no, it's awesome that you're using Home Brewery. That's such a cool tool. It's a cool tool that rhymes. I love that. So yeah. That's an awesome process. That's a really awesome way to approach it. Using OneNote to kind of create the stuff, and then Home Brewery to make it look nice. And I have definitely thought about using Home Brewery. Sorry, I gotta count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've definitely thought about using Home Brewery for the sake of making things look nice. And like I say, the thing that kind of stops me, I guess I'll be fair to myself. It's not just laziness. It's also a matter uh, of trying to keep pace with what my players are going through at any time. And if I slow down to try and make things look nice on Home Brewery, I find that it just adds too much time to the process. And I'd rather just, give them like a Word document version of my notes, in essence. So it's, but no, props to you for using that. It's a great tool. It's definitely a great tool. Let's see here. I gotta do more counting. All right, why do I do it this? Why do I do this to myself? This is such a terrible approach to this. But I insist upon doing it this way. So we go down there, and then we can match down there to make it easy, and then do 1 more for the little peg, and then we go 3 more from there. Yeah, there it is. Okay, and then we go from there. We don't lose track of where we're at, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over. And it goes up there, and then we go over for our 4, and we go up 5, 5, and then we go down 2 more so that we can have our little pathway here. Match it, add 1 more, 1 for the thing, and then 2 more, up 2 over 2, 2, da 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 da. We go over there for 3. Down 1 over 2, down 1, 2, 3, 2, down 2, shoop, 2. Come over here. Oh, great! It's another really long one that I have to like count and like actually show some concern for. Hold up, it's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm doing my utmost best to try and make this even the slightest bit interesting. Me just sitting here making lines. This is such like I suck at streaming, and the fact that I'm insisting on sitting here doing this is the ultimate evidence that I have no damn idea what I'm doing here. Hey, who would do this? Why would anyone want to sit here and watch this? They wouldn't. And that's why I will never be famous. Hold up. Okay, so then we go up one more, and then we can go up there 2. And that's over 2. And then it's up 4. Okay, up 4, and we go over 2. And then we go up 2. And then, yeah, we're getting it. I'm figuring it out. Okay, then we go 2. And then, how long is that stupid room? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. It's 7 long. 7 long. And then you go down 2, up 2, 2, like that. And then shloop de loop. We got it connected. Okay. Oh, I did it. Holy mackerel, I did it. And look at how not visually striking that is, because it's dark on dark. It's dark on dark, baby. Okay, I still have a couple things, a couple gaps that I need to fill in. Oh shoot, because it did that. Hold on. There's got to be a delete tool for this. There's got to be like a way to. Oh, I didn't think about that. Where there's that middle line there. I mean, I could just cheat and put like black sections just to make it. There's got to be a way. Palette. Ah, man. Ah, man. Now it's real embarrassing. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. I want to do this. Polygon. Back in grid. Effects. Layers. Barnacles. Oh man, I goofed it up. Well, you know what? It's 5 after 9. It's 5 after 9. This is usually my quitting time. I gotta hold myself to my schedule because I gotta be up at 4 a.m. tomorrow. So I'm just gonna save it as it is. Save. We're gonna call this Pirate Cove. Save it, and I'll screw around with it. Maybe find an actual method for for actually fixing it like I want to. I'm sure there's a way to do it. There's got to be a way to do it. It'd be so silly for them to not provide a way to do it. But at any rate, I'm gonna call it a night. Because it's getting late. I'm getting tired. I gotta hold myself to my schedule. Otherwise, I will fall apart tomorrow. And I got a busy week the rest of this week during my day job and everything. So this has been a good session. We had some people coming in and chatting. It was fun stuff. I had a really good time with this. Thank you. I don't think anyone is still viewing. People come and go, and I am a-okay with that. I think that's awesome that they came at all. But thank you to the people who participated. It made it real fun for me. I love sharing ideas. I love this. I'm really enjoying this stream. I really am having a lot of fun with this stream, with the writing streams. When we get people coming in and chit-chatting with me about what different people are creating and stuff. I think it's such a cool. Community to be part of, and I'm digging it. So, coming up this week, definitely tomorrow, I'll be streaming some more Borderlands. Don't get me wrong, the writing streams are my favorite, but I do love streaming some Borderlands too. Not Borderlands number 2, Borderlands as well. Video games in general, I love streaming it. I'm going to be trying to, especially during the video game streams, I'm going to be trying to add a bit more in the way of, like I've always talking about, trying to discuss some of my day job stuff. Excuse me, which is the environmental health type stuff. So we'll be doing that. That's tomorrow. That's Thursday. Friday, as long as schedule doesn't get in the way, we will do another writing stream. That's the plan as it stands right now. Saturday is up in the air. I have some home improvement stuff to do. I am making some big changes to my kitchen, and that's just 100% for me, just to make me enjoy my living space a little bit better, especially with how much time I spend in my apartment, just trying to make it the place that I like to be these days. So yeah, it's up in the air. It depends on how the day goes and how quickly I can get that stuff taken care of. Um, my baseline is I want to be doing Saturday streaming video games and fight companions for any fight nights that are happening on Friday nights. But this or on Saturday night, but this Saturday is it's toss up. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. But yeah, so I suppose until then, thank you to those who stopped by. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of the assistance that some of my new friends have been giving me and the support people are giving me. I appreciate that. It is so awesome to be part of this community. So yeah, until next time, be good, guys. Spread some goodness in the world. I'm EnviroBoy. It's been a fun evening, and I will catch you guys next time. Take care, everybody.